Barbershop here in Forest Grove started 75 years ago, and by the Forest Grove Gleeman, which is a male a cappella chorus with businessmen and general community in Forest Grove. And they wanted to have a money-making project of putting on some kind of a show that would draw people into Forest Grove, and so they decided to have a quartet contest. They'd heard about one back east that was quite popular, so they started this ballad contest in Forest Grove, and offering cash awards for quartets, and they'd come in from it was called the All Northwest Barbershop. They called it a ballad contest, even though they didn't judge them to singing ballads, but they could sing anything as long as it was good barbershop. Anyway, they put together the show, and it was such a sensation. Is that the old high school auditorium on Elm Street? That's the school I graduated from. And anyway, they had a nice auditorium. They planned it, had maybe 10 or 12 quartets competing. They went in the auditorium, sang their 2 songs in competition, and they were judged in there. But there were so many people come to the contest that they couldn't hold them all in the auditorium, so that there was a little gymnasium across the street. So the quartets would sing. Half the audience was in this gymnasium, the other half was in the auditorium. Quartets would sing on stage in the auditorium, leave the auditorium, go across the gymnasium, and sing again over there. They were judged in the auditorium, but they did the same things in the others, so the audience got to see the same production, but they just weren't seeing the actual competition, the same songs. But anyway, they go back to the gymnasium, sing their songs, and that's where it started its growth, and it developed from there. And after 2 or 3 years, they went to a quartet came in for the weekend of the contest from the Portland Police Department, wearing the old Keystone Cop outfits to compete. Well, during the afternoon, they were uptown just goofing around. They started directing traffic in Forest Grove, just like the old Keystone Cops would. And anyway, it created such a stir that we thought, well, wouldn't it be good to have a sort of a festival and sort of elaborate on it? And that's where the Gay 90s Festival developed, where we had the parade, we had a train come into town with a bunch of people for the show and for the parade, and we just had all the window displays, all the schools dressed up in Gay 90s costumes, the grade schools, the high school. It became a big festival. In fact, I guess the festival outgrew itself, because Forest Grove dropped the festival a couple of years ago. I think it's one of the most disappointing things that had happened around here, that we don't have that anymore. It was the 3rd largest city festival in the state of Oregon as far as publicity in the paper. The Oregonian and the Oregon Journal back in those days had more press put out on the number 1 was the Rose Festival, of course. Number 2 is the Pendleton Roundup. Number 3 was the Forest Grove Gay 90s Festival and Ballad Contest. And I sure hate to see that disappear, which it did. And anyway, and I don't know if we could ever bring it back. We're still trying to keep the barbershop contest going, and this will be our 75th year of that, and this year in March. So anyway.